The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Dueling Comedians, where two comedians clash to see whose comedy kills and who gets killed.
Figuratively speaking, of course.
All this to determine who claims the coveted Dueling Comedians trophy. This is Dueling Comedians.
This is Tony V. We are on Dueling Comedians, or you're on Dueling Comedians. I'm doing Dueling Comedians. And if you're at work, just try to keep a straight look on your face so it doesn't look like you're having fun. You know what I mean? Don't think just every once in a while shake your head and go, "Oh, that poor guy," and everyone will be happy. I tell you this, I'm very excited about the show. This is Carolyn Riley to my right, your left, and I'm very excited about this. You're one of the newer comedians that I get to talk to.
Yeah.
And I don't know a whole lot about you. Everyone else I've had on the show, I've had some sort of an acquaintance with. So I'm ready to learn a little bit myself. But before we get deep into who you are, Carolyn Riley,
okay,
I have to introduce you to my sidekick. This is Laugh Track Larry.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, don't get him going because he gets up ahead of steam. And there's no stopping him.
I'm very pleased that you didn't go with another old white guy.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. I mean,
you seem to know a lot of old white guys.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's been paying attention that closely, but I am in fact an old white guy.
Oh.
And when I was a younger white guy, all we had was young white guys. And those of us who haven't passed on to our great reward have become old white guys.
Yeah.
And also I realize that we are the problem with the world, old white guys, because we refuse to believe that our time has come and gone. You know what I mean? And we're just hanging on by a thread trying to, live out our existence. But the world actually belongs to the young. You know what I mean? And I think it gets me into my first question when I talk to younger comedians. How are you a student in the history of comedy, or how did you get involved? What made you decide to try stand-up?
Yeah, great question. I was class president in high school, and my uncle, whom you have met,
Dave Radigan.
Yeah. He decided he was going to help me run a fundraiser, have comedy shows.
Right.
And I had a super conservative Christian high school. I talk about it a lot in my set.
Yeah.
And they had just a laundry list of things you couldn't say. They were so anxious about the concept of having a comedy show.
Right.
But I remember talking to them and being like, "It's a really great idea. We don't really have events here. It'll be good." And then I had to search through 40 comedians' tapes to see who would have any material they could do.
that they would find offensive.
So I actually got into comedy through seeing local comedians. The first show that we booked was Matt Donaher, Steve McConey, Steve Bjork, and Dave.
All right, that's
very classic Boston lineup, all white guys.
All white guys. Different age white guys.
Very different ages and very different styles of comedy.
Yeah, so, very much so.
Matt Donaher's was the one that I was like, that's so good. That's what I appealed to the most. He was very punchline driven.
Matt D, yeah.
So I got into it through seeing locals. I wasn't really. I watched SNL and stuff, but I wasn't a comedy nerd. I wasn't watching all the Comedy Central.
Right,
presents.
so it wasn't a burning desire in you until you saw
high
it
school.
happen. Right.
But then from high school into college, I was like, oh, I should do it. And Dave kept being like, I literally run a mic, come to a set. And I was like, I don't know. And then I finally did when I was 20.
Right.
So, and I know saying finally did when I was 20 sounds stupid, but it was in my head since high school. I was watching a lot of stand-up comedy then.
Yeah, when you're an old white guy and someone says finally when I was 20, you go, please, my socks are that old.
Yeah. So that's my story.
And I go through it myself. My son, my son Gus started doing comedy, and I've gotten mostly out of his way and let him find his own way. Yeah. You know what I mean? He asks for advice or whatever, and I will sometimes give it. But do you find that with your uncle?
When I first started, it was super helpful. He was really helpful in giving notes on how to construct a 5. And he gave a lot of criticism. I remember he would say, "Go watch your tape because you touched your hair 70 times or something."
It's things you don't know. You don't
things
see
you just don't pick up on.
Right.
But he's definitely when we started, he was like, don't tell anyone about me because it's not going to help you. And then when I started getting booked more, he was telling everyone that I was with me.
Right.
And now, I still work with him and I go to him to like run things by him and stuff, but he has pretty much kind of let me take a different
your own path, as
for
it
sure.
were. Yeah. And where are you working these days? How's that going?
It's going well. I'm at the studio a lot. I'm at Nick's a lot.
Yeah.
Laugh the Boston rooms basically, but I still leave to do a good Elks Lodge now and then.
The backbone of comedy.
Well, that's the rooms
I
I like started in, which I think was really helpful because I was learning, a lot different audiences than Somerville, like liberal, which is where I would enjoy the most. Yeah, but it was harder when you start.
And isn't it weird that our craft, our job is to entertain who is ever in front of us.
Yeah.
But that can range, as you say, from liberal, and I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, liberal Somerville.
Yeah.
Which was when I was
not true.
was not true when it was a very hard scrabble working class place,
Right.
And now it's like the most, I said something I did the studio the other night because I like to go back and see if I can make young people laugh because that means I can be in the business another 6 months.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what my goals have become. All right, I don't have to get a real job for another 6 months if I can. And I said something, the most innocuous thing about, it was just tangentially political, and you could hear asses shut like that. And it was like, and I go, lighten up. It's just, just my opinion. It's not, no one's getting hurt. No one's been killed,
That happened to me the opposite last weekend. I did a very iconic Chinese restaurant on Route 1 in Saugus. And
the Temple of Doom.
And I did a joke that implied that I'm sexually active, and men were avoiding eye contact with me. People were more upset than my mother was when she found out.
I think that young woman is promiscuous.
Yeah, and it was after I followed a comic who was using his microphone as a prop.
As his dick. We're on that.
And I was like, but even so my joke was considered a clean sex joke. It didn't even really swear or anything. I don't even say sex in it.
Right.
But it was a much different reaction.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And it's old. And I bet you it's old white guys and old white women.
There was women who were going but they were next to their husbands, and then they were like, "We're not going to let you vote next election."
You're the one going to get us into trouble with them liberals. That's how it starts. You start having sex, and then you start thinking for yourself, you women. Who needs that?
I know.
And so that was going to lead me to my next question anyway, which is, when you look across generations, how do you think it's changed? The craft has changed.
I think that right now, when I first started comedy, I wanted to talk about politics and feminism and stuff because I was a college student. I was a women's studies major, and now I don't want to at all because everyone is doing that. So I think that what I'm seeing, in my kind of age bracket, which I just group as people who've been doing it for maybe under 10 years, 4 or 5. It's a lot of people who really want to talk about politics. They really want to talk about points and have bookended messages, very Mike Birbiglia-esque.
Right.
Which I don't actually gravitate to as much, but that is kind of what I appealed to when I first started. And now I'm a little less into it because I'm seeing so many people do that.
Yeah, because when I've seen you perform, a couple of 4 or 5 times, right? And you seem to me more traditional in your approach to stand-up.
Oh, thank you.
In terms of, there's some chatter, then there's an obvious setup, and then a punchline. There's the twist, the joke, the way I look at comedy. And sometimes I see young people or younger people, and let's, not paint this any color than it shouldn't be. Everyone's young to me. You know what I mean? I was calling Josh Day young, and he's 50. Right. You know what I mean? So it's generationally speaking, when I see it, it's more story and these ironic little twists in things rather than, and I find that younger people tend to shy away from punchlines or if they smell a joke, they will run from it.
They maybe don't want it to be as obvious.
Yeah.
They want it to be, they want to make such a point or have such a meaning behind the joke that it kind of loses the format of a joke.
Right.
And I have some jokes that do arc to a point, but I am timing when there's a punchline missing, and there should be an opportunity to laugh again.
To laugh in that. So it's like a story, but then you have punchlines within that.
Right.
Yeah, I find that odd that And when you come down to it, it's all slipping on banana peels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the basic point of the gag is to, get the audience to not think the way they're thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very interesting. I can talk about this for 4 hours
Likewise.
with you. It's
Likewise.
great. But that music, and I'm trusting you hear music.
I do hear music. I was hoping we both heard it.
Yeah. Good. Well, sometimes the 80s catch up with me in a big way, and I hear shit no one else does. But that means we're going to go to break, and then we'll come back, and it's dueling time.
All right. Let's go.
You're listening to Dueling Comedians. Now streaming on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. This wicked pissa show will be right back.
This is David Garofalo, and you've heard me say it over and over again for many years. Please support your local cigar retailer. And I mean it. If you don't buy from them, they will go away, and then what? There'll be no place to go. That being said, sometimes you're far away from any cigar shops or a place that doesn't carry the stuff you've been hearing about and you want to try it. That's where twoguyscigars.com comes in. It's the number twoguyscigars.com. And unlike most online cigar shops, at twoguyscigars.com, you can buy a single cigar of whatever you want. You don't have to buy boxes or even 5-packs and suffer through cigars you might not even like. One of this and one of that is acceptable, appreciated, and commonplace at twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2guyscigars.com. Thank you for your business.
It is still Dueling Comedians, and I am with Carolyn Riley, and we were talking in the break because you had mentioned when you touched on the fact that some sexual thing that people looked at you like, oh, the poor girl, right. She doesn't know. And we were talking about it coming from an old white guy. It's creepy.
Yeah.
Like if I talk about sex on stage, other than in the context of my marriage or whatever else, it just seems like I'm a creepy old,
Seems like.
Well, I wanted to see him. Like, yeah. I mean, sure. Who knows what the reality is? I could be that creepy old guy, but you can't do stand up and have that doubt, that conscious view of yourself going like, if I say this, it's going to sound like that.
Right. Yeah.
And like the Christian school, I've gotten those calls too where they go, all right, we want you to come do a show. It's a corporate thing, but, we're very religious, blah, blah, blah. You can't talk about homosexuality. You can't talk about drugs. You can't talk. I go, you need a mime.
Yeah.
You don't want a comedian.
Ours was like politics, sex, something else where I was just like, there's no subject left. There's no category.
There's nothing we can talk about that's not going to be offensive.
Right.
So how do, this is the part of the show where we say to people, how do we get a hold of you if they want to hire you or find out what you're about or where you'll be appearing?
Yeah. The best central location is Instagram. I am a youth.
You are a youth.
Yes. My handle is Criley a River.
Criley a River. Oh,
Carolyn Riley. So it's Criley a River.
Oh, that's clever.
That's where you find
see what you did there.
You see that? That was it was a twist.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
That's a joke.
And Larry, that is a joke.
My stuff is always in my bio.
And your stuff is always on there. Yeah. Even if you go on Instagram, it'll get you to where you're going. It'll get you where
I got my website in there and everything.
Really? So, you can do that on Instagram?
Yeah.
I am so
You got to get on.
I don't know. I mean, if I have a funny picture, I'll put it on Instagram, but I didn't know you could use it for information.
Oh, I get booked through Instagram.
You do?
I've gotten reached out to for gigs.
Sweet Jesus, I
know.
I didn't know this
it's also
world
where
existed.
Men in the audience go to ask me where other shows I will be, and I don't know if I should answer.
There's no swiping on that, is it? It's not one of the swipey ones, is it?
I just give them there's no.
There's no.
It's not
swiping.
a dating app.
It's not.
People treat it like one.
Like it does, right?
It's very.
That'd be good if you had a bunch of comedians that you'd just go, no.
It'd be all of them.
No, there'd be a whole shitload over on one side and none over there. Yeah. I wouldn't do good on the swipey app things. I don't.
Well, the good thing you don't.
I don't have to.
Yeah.
Right.
You shouldn't do it.
Well, right now I don't have. You don't know what the future holds.
Things could change.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I know. Now that music changed. Did you see that?
Yeah.
The tempo in that changed.
Yeah, it was more upbeat.
It was more upbeat
Because of the competitive nature of this show.
because now it's coming to fisticuffs.
The stakes are high.
So I'm going to hit this button.
Okay.
This is the coveted trophy, which is at stake.
Okay.
All right. So here it goes. You're up first.
All right.
As the guest.
A guy I was seeing recently said to me, Carolyn, I wouldn't want to raise our kids in the church. So I said, I wouldn't want to raise our kids.
I have kids, but my kids are your age or so, So when they were young, I would, I did raise them. You know what I mean? Because I worked at nights, I was around with them all the time. So I would always end up watching cartoons with them, and it was not the cartoons of my youth. Like we had Curious George, which he was always getting blamed for doing something wrong. And I would say to my kids, he's just a monkey. Why are you blaming the monkey? You leave a monkey alone in an ice cream store and you don't think there's going to be mayhem? I could be wrong, but the man in the yellow hat has got to accept some responsibility. What grown man goes to a jungle, takes a monkey out, and then brings him to a baseball game and thinks everything's going to be okay?
I got myself a dog recently. I got myself a pug. And I know buying a pug is weird. It's kind of like buying asthma on a leash. But I found out that every time people find out that I have a dog, they say that's such great preparation for me for when I have kids. And I wish I understood that analogy more. Which aspect of raising a dog is preparing me for having kids? The part where if she pisses me off, I can leave her in a crate for the evening? Or the part where I do not know where her father is?
And Garfield crawls up my ass even more than Curious George. Garfield has been a cartoon for well over 40 years, and it has never been funny once. You cannot read Garfield for 6 months. Go back, it'll be the same thing. Oh, what's the cat eating today? It's the cat that eats people food. Hysterical. Last week it was a hot dog. This week it's pizza. I don't know how the guy that writes it, Jim Davis, lives with himself. I don't know if he's like a genius and he thinks he's one, or he's just a guy like in gold lame underwear sitting at a dusky desk under a dim light bulb going, it buys my heroin, I'll just keep writing it.
The kids I was talking about, I went to a really Christian prep school. The kids I went to school with now, they're all doing this thing. They're getting engaged by the spring semester of their senior year of college. And every week I see another engagement post on social media, and I just think I thought I unfollowed you after the election, but they're all posting this stuff how they can't wait for the day they get to say their vows. But they're 23 years old, so I don't think your vows count at that age. I think that if you are still in sickness and in health need not apply if you are still covered on your parents' health insurance.
Zippy the Pinhead has got to be the worst thing that not only as a comic, but has ever been penned in the history of things being penned. It was someone's delusion from the 60s who has gotten out of whack, where he spouts off this nonsense and everyone goes, oh, yeah, very deep. That's fine when you're smoking pot and doing acid. But when you're a grown human being reading a newspaper, doesn't cut it.
The laugh tracks are so long. I have a hard time making small talk with my friends my age because I feel like our small talk in our 20s is still a lot about how wrecked we got last weekend, how much we drank, how much we smoked or whatever. And I'm just I can sort of relate because I once took so much Adderall that I accidentally finished college a year early.
See, when you age, the drugs they give you change a lot. Like I had a talk with my doctor about, he goes, you got a little high blood pressure. And he said, and I go, what do you do for that? He says, diet and exercise. And I go, what else you got? Because I don't see that starting up right now. I've avoided it my whole life. So he goes, well, I got some pills I can prescribe to you. And I go, I don't really like to take pills that are prescribed to me. You know? And then he goes back to diet and exercise, and I go, nah, let's stick with the pills. Wow, that was a different noise at the end. Did that sound like a pig snorting?
It was like a barnyard audience.
Yeah.
It is New Hampshire.
Has that always been there, Larry?
Yeah.
Really? Because there's the nice zippy music then.
I like it.
Yeah, I know. It's good. It just took me by surprise. I never heard it before. Have you ever heard something like that before, Carolyn?
No.
No.
And I grew up in New Hampshire.
Yeah, and she knows her way around animals.
That's not
See,
my phrase.
See, I say something simple and it sounds creepy.
I'm going to Me Too you now.
Now I've been just Me Too'd. And I said the most innocuous thing in the world. This is what we're up against.
Is it my turn? Are we going?
No, we're done.
We're done. Okay.
Yeah, we're done. We're just waiting for the results. Larry is he's the one who decides who gets the trophy.
I got to tell you, Tony, my sides are split.
Really?
From the side split.
We'll get some
laughter.
tape. Yeah, we'll get some tape for that.
That may be the finest duel of all time.
Wow. Well, it's across generations.
That every time.
No, but it's across generations.
I think you upped your game, Tony, with that cartoon stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, how I laughed.
You laughed at that. You're a big fan of the cartoony stuff. Yeah. I didn't even get the Thomas
There was
the
one
Tank
cartoon
Engine.
I didn't know.
Which one didn't you know?
The one that I didn't know. I knew
Zippy.
Garfield.
Zippy?
I knew George. Yeah, I didn't know Zippy.
Zippy is Zippy the Pinhead.
Never heard of that before.
You're better off.
Yeah. Trust me. Don't
Sounds
seek
like
him
I
out.
am. Yeah.
Don't you'll read
Why
it.
now?
You'll go. He was absolutely
You
right.
can't unsee Zippy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when you mutilate a cat.
We have similar delivery, actually.
Yeah, between you, I had Carolyn Plummer on
I was gonna say,
a week or so ago. Yeah.
Yeah, the lowest energy Carolyn's in history.
Yeah, my energy level was higher.
This is him amped up, by the way, too. He's he's got a cup of coffee in front of him and Diet Coke.
Yeah, this is me on full caffeine.
Yeah. You guys are off the rails.
Very funny stuff. Tony?
Yes.
The day has come.
Oh.
Carolyn is the winner.
I knew it was going to happen eventually, and if it has to be to someone young, that is yours to take home.
So
this is the first time in about 3 months
really?
That I lost.
Who won last time?
Me.
No, like who was left to beat
you're
you?
the first one.
Really?
You're the first winner of the Coveted Trophy.
Wow.
It really is coveted.
It is coveted.
People are throwing elbows.
I can't say I disagree with you. Very funny. And you should, if you can find Carolyn Riley anywhere, please do it. I will be back next week and regain my title. I'm not going down easy. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And I say that with all due respect, and it was great talking to you.
You as well.
And come
Thank you for
back
having me.
anytime. I want a second shot of getting that back.
All right.
Keep listening here to Dueling Comedians, and you can find it wherever comedians and dueling is found.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.